Willow Ridge was a town built on tradition. Every year, its cobblestone streets were adorned with glowing lights, evergreen wreaths, and a promise of warmth to its residents. Children darted between the stalls of the Christmas market, while adults sipped mulled wine and gossiped about the latest happenings. But this year, something new appeared on the corner of Maple and Vine, a shop that no one had noticed before. Its golden letters glimmered in the frost-bitten air. The Gift Exchange. The building stood out against the quaint, familiar storefronts. Its facade shimmered unnaturally, as if dipped in molten gold and crimson. Candles flickered in its windows, casting shadows that seemed alive, stretching and bending in ways that didn't align with the light. Emily Thatcher, a young journalist fresh out of college, was the first to notice. She had returned to her hometown reluctantly, after a failed attempt to land a job in the big city. Her parents had begged her to come home for Christmas, to find solace in the traditions of Willow Ridge, but she couldn't shake the feeling of failure. When she first saw the shop, Emily thought it was an elaborate decoration. But as she drew closer, her curiosity bloomed into something more, a tug deep in her chest, pulling her toward the door. It swung open before she could touch the handle, the air inside warm and spiced, yet tinged with something metallic. "Welcome," said the shopkeeper, a man draped in crimson robes. His face was pale and sharp, his gray eyes piercing yet unreadable. He spoke softly, yet his voice carried like a song in a dream. "You're our first visitor. Please come in." Emily hesitated. What is this place?" The shopkeeper smiled, his thin lips curling like smoke. "It's the Gift Exchange. We offer gifts, perfect gifts, for those who step inside. No cost up front, of course." She glanced at the shelves, which were stacked with an assortment of items. Jewelry that gleamed brighter than diamonds, toys that looked handcrafted with impossible precision, and books that seemed to whisper as their pages turned in the faint breeze. "No cost?" Emily asked skeptically, stepping further inside. "None at all," the shopkeeper said, gesturing to the wares. "Take what your heart desires. But remember, to keep your gift, you must return something of equal value by midnight on Christmas Eve. Should you fail—" He paused, his smile growing colder. "The payment will be taken." Emily felt the hairs on her arms rise, but she shook it off. "And if I don't take anything?" The shopkeeper's eyes gleamed. "Then you leave as you came, unchanged, unburdened. But you'll find that everyone desires something, even if they don't know it yet." As if on cue, the bell above the door jingled and a man stepped in. He was middle-aged, with a haggard face and calloused hands. Emily recognized him, Marcus Finn, the town's carpenter, known for his kind smile and quiet demeanor. "Marcus," the shopkeeper said, as though greeting an old friend. "Welcome back." Marcus froze, his eyes widening. "No, not again," he whispered. Emily frowned. "You've been here before?" Marcus turned to her, his face pale. "Get out. Don't take anything. Don't even look." Before she could ask what he meant, Marcus bolted out of the shop, the door slamming behind him. Emily turned to the shopkeeper, but his serene smile remained intact. "Some are not ready to embrace their desires," he said simply. "But you, Emily, you are different. How do you know my name?" The shopkeeper chuckled, the sound low and melodic. "We know all our visitors. You'll find what you're looking for on that shelf." Against her better judgment, Emily walked toward the shelf he indicated. There, sitting among the trinkets, was a simple leather-bound notebook. Her heart skipped a beat. It was identical to the one her grandfather had given her as a child, the one she had lost during her move to college. She picked it up, her fingers trembling as she flipped through its pages. Every detail was the same. The faint scent of cedar, the pressed flower she had placed between the pages on her 16th birthday. "It can't be," she whispered. The shopkeeper's voice drifted over her shoulder. "Oh, but it is. Take it, Emily. It's yours." She clutched the notebook to her chest, a lump forming in her throat. "And if I don't return something of equal value?" The shopkeeper's smile faded into something sharper. "Then the gift is reclaimed, along with interest." Emily's rational mind screamed at her to put it back and walk away, but the part of her that longed for simpler times, for the comfort of her grandfather's love, overruled. "I'll take it," she said softly. The shopkeeper's smile returned, wider than before. "Of course you will." As Emily left the shop, she couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows in the windows were watching her. On Christmas Eve, the residents of Willow Ridge began to whisper. The artist who had bought the miraculous paints hadn't been seen in days. The widow who had found her late husband's locket was screaming about voices in her home. And Emily? She was staring at her notebook, unable to put it down. The frost-laden streets of Willowridge carried an unnatural hush as Christmas Eve approached. The town, usually bustling with cheer, seemed subdued. Rumors spread like wildfire about strange happenings connected to the mysterious shop that had appeared days earlier. Emily sat at her small desk, the leather-bound notebook open before her. Its pages whispered to her, not with words but with memories, moments she thought were lost forever. Her grandfather's gentle voice echoed in her mind as she ran her fingers over the pressed flower between the pages, her 16th birthday flooding back with vivid clarity. But as much as the notebook brought comfort, it also brought something else, a growing unease. She couldn't put it down. Every time she tried, her hands would tremble, and a cold sweat would break out across her skin. Even in her dreams, the notebook called to her, its presence as inescapable as the air she breathed. When her mother knocked on her door that morning, Emily jolted, slamming the notebook shut. "Are you okay, sweetie?" her mother asked, her brows furrowed with concern. "You've been in here all morning." "I'm fine," Emily lied, forcing a smile. Her mother hesitated, then nodded. "Don't forget about the Christmas Eve dinner tonight. Everyone's looking forward to seeing you." As her mother left, Emily's gaze fell back to the notebook. The shopkeeper's words echoed in her mind. "Return something of equal value by midnight." That evening, Emily made her way to the town square, where the Christmas Eve market was in full swing. Twinkling lights adorned every stall, and the scent of roasted chestnuts mingled with the crisp winter air. But despite the festive setting, Emily noticed the strained faces of the townsfolk. She overheard snippets of conversations. "Haven't seen Marcus since he went in." "Strange noises coming from Sarah's house." "That shop, it's cursed." Emily's heart sank. Marcus Finn's warning replayed in her head. "Get out. Don't take anything." As she walked past the stalls, she spotted Sarah, the widow who had purchased the locket. The older woman was clutching her coat tightly around her, her eyes darting nervously. Emily approached cautiously. "Sarah?" The widow turned, her face pale. "Emily, you went to the shop too, didn't you?" Emily hesitated, then nodded. Sarah grabbed her arm, her grip surprisingly strong. "You have to give it back. Whatever you took, you have to return it." "But," Emily faltered, "it's my grandfather's notebook. It's priceless to me." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I thought the same about my locket, but it's not worth it. He's in it, Emily, my husband. He's trapped. I hear him crying for help every night, but I can't let it go." Her voice broke into a whisper. "I don't think the shopkeeper wants us to return the gifts. I think he wants us to fail." Emily's blood ran cold. Before she could respond, Sarah pulled away, disappearing into the crowd. That night, Emily returned home, her mind racing. The notebook sat on her desk, its presence oppressive. She picked it up, staring at the familiar leather cover. She didn't want to lose it, but the thought of what might happen if she didn't return something of equal value gnawed at her. Determined to find answers, Emily decided to confront the shopkeeper. She bundled herself in her coat and scarf, clutching the notebook tightly, and made her way to the gift exchange. The shop loomed in the icy darkness, its golden letters gleaming under the streetlights. Emily hesitated before stepping inside. The shopkeeper greeted her with a serene smile. "Emily, I've been expecting you." She set the notebook on the counter, her hands trembling. "I want to return it." The shopkeeper tilted his head, his gray eyes sparkling. "Are you sure? It is everything you've ever wanted." I can't keep it," she stammered. "I don't want to pay the price." The shopkeeper's smile grew wider, almost predatory. "Very well, return something of equal value, and the notebook is yours to keep." Emily's mind raced. What could possibly equal the value of her grandfather's notebook? She thought of her jewelry, her savings, even her camera, the most expensive thing she owned. None of it felt significant enough. I don't know what to give," she admitted. The shopkeeper leaned forward, his voice soft and chilling. "Then I shall decide for you." Before Emily could react, he reached out, his hand brushing against hers. A cold shock ran through her, and the world seemed to blur. When she blinked, she was back outside, the shop's door closed behind her. The notebook was gone. Emily stumbled home, her chest tight with anxiety. She checked her room, hoping to find the notebook there, but it was nowhere to be seen. Instead, she found something else, a framed photograph of her grandfather. The one that had sat on her nightstand for years was missing. In its place was a single pressed flower, its petals blackened and brittle. As midnight approached, the bells of Willow Ridge's church began to toll. Emily sat in her room, tears streaming down her face as realization set in. The shopkeeper hadn't just taken the notebook. He had taken the memory. The pressed flower was all that remained of her grandfather's presence in her life. The warmth of his stories, the sound of his laugh, it was gone, leaving only a hollow ache in its place. And Emily knew deep down that this was only the beginning. The hollow ache in Emily's chest deepened with every toll of the church bells. She clutched the brittle, blackened pressed flower in her trembling hands, her tears blurring its fragile edges. The memories of her grandfather, his laughter, his stories, his presence, were like a gaping void in her mind. She knew he had existed, knew he had mattered, but the emotions tied to him were gone, as if they had been stolen. She couldn't let it end like this. Gritting her teeth, Emily threw on her coat and rushed into the icy night. The streets of Willow Ridge were deserted, the cheerful lights casting long, eerie shadows. The festive warmth of Christmas Eve felt like a cruel facade, masking the unnatural dread hanging over the town. The gift exchange stood at the corner of Maple and Vine, its golden letters gleaming with an almost mocking brilliance. Emily didn't hesitate this time. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. The shop was quiet, more so than before. The flickering candles on the shelves cast unsettling shapes on the walls, and the air felt heavy, like the weight of a storm about to break. The shopkeeper was waiting for her, his crimson robes pooling around him like blood on snow. His gray eyes sparkled with something darker than amusement. "Emily," he greeted, his voice smooth as silk. "Back so soon? You took my memories," she spat. "I took your payment," he corrected, a sly smile playing on his lips. The terms were clear. Emily stepped closer, her fists clenched. "You don't understand. I need them back. I'll give you something else, anything else." The shopkeeper raised an eyebrow. "What could possibly equal the worth of what you've already lost?" She hesitated, her mind racing. What did she have left to offer? What could she give to reclaim what had been stolen? "I'll trade my future," she blurted. The shopkeeper's smile faltered. For the first time, a flicker of something, surprise perhaps, crossed his face. "Your future," he echoed, his voice soft. "Yes," she said, her voice trembling. "Take it. Just give me my memories back." The shopkeeper studied her, his piercing gaze seeming to peel away the layers of her soul. Then slowly he nodded. "Very well," he said. "The trade is accepted." He reached out, his hand hovering just above hers. A cold, searing energy passed between them, and the room spun. Emily gasped as a flood of images and sensations surged through her mind. Her grandfather's warm smile, his hearty laugh, the scent of cedarwood and tobacco that always clung to his sweaters. But with the memories came something else. Emily opened her eyes to find herself standing outside the gift exchange. The shop was gone, its golden letters and crimson facade replaced by an empty, snow-dusted lot. The streets of Willow Ridge were as quiet as before, but the air felt heavier, darker. She stumbled home, her legs weak, her chest heaving with relief. She had done it. She had her memories back, but as she climbed the stairs to her room, she stopped short. Her reflection in the hallway mirror caught her attention. Her face looked the same, but her eyes were different. The vibrant spark of life that had once danced in them was gone, replaced by a cold, gray emptiness. She shivered and hurried past the mirror, telling herself it was just exhaustion. When she reached her room, she froze. The pressed flower was gone. In its place was the notebook, its leather cover pristine, as if it had never been touched. Emily's chest tightened. She picked it up, her fingers brushing the pages, and an overwhelming sense of dread washed over her. The next morning, Willow Ridge awoke to a changed town. Rumors spread of strange occurrences, of missing loved ones and cursed objects, but Emily didn't leave her room. She sat at her desk, staring at the notebook. It wasn't hers anymore. She could feel it deep in her bones. The shopkeeper's touch lingered on it, a reminder of the bargain she had struck. And then the realization hit her. She hadn't traded her future for her memories. She had traded her humanity. Months later, in another town far away, a mysterious pop-up shop appeared on the corner of a bustling street. Its golden letters glimmered in the spring sunlight. The gift exchange. Inside, a young shopkeeper greeted visitors with a serene smile. Her gray eyes gleamed, and her crimson robes shimmered like blood in the light. "Welcome," Emily said, her voice soft and melodic. "We offer gifts, perfect gifts for those who step inside. No cost up front, of course." And as the first customer walked through the door, the shadows in the shop seemed to shift, welcoming another soul into their fold.